Hello, this is Rudy Giuliani, and I'm back with another episode of Rudy's Common Sense. And as you can see, we are still in paradise. We're still in a free country, a free state. I don't think any illegal, unconstitutional mandates apply to us. I don't think Governor DeSantis is a constitutional violator or a serial constitutional violator like our president and our current governor in New York. But I will have to go back to what has now become, it seems to me, as of yesterday and today, an even more dangerous New York. I mean, we were, and I continue to be, and I won't change that until I see something to the contrary, encouraged by the new mayor, who has not in any way, rhetorically at least, backed off his commitment to strengthen enforcement in New York and make it his goal to make New York safe. He immediately authorized a new plainclothes unit, the critical first thing he had to do. He's made it clear that he's going to be fair, but he's not going to go soft on criminals. And he's talked about a lot of other initiatives that he's going to put into place to focus on getting guns out of the city. And I think I know what that means, but I don't want to get ahead of him. And then he stood up to Black Lives Matter, which was significant. And he's also made it clear on COVID that he's not going to close the city down just because the lefties are in a state of panic, hysteria, and political manipulation. All good. There are other things I disagree with, but I'm a Ronald Reagan guy, which is my 80% friend is not my 20% enemy. And he does crime, he's going to have a big plus in my book. But something has just happened, and it is a major problem. It would be a major problem for any mayor, whatever their goals, me or anyone else, Bloomberg, I mean, even good mayors. He's got Soros has now taken over the district attorney's office in New York. This has been going on since 2016. He started in smaller cities, and he's worked his way up now to the capital of the world. And we have a Soros agent as district attorney in Manhattan. Soros agent to the extent that he put, we know, $1 million into the race, which is extraordinary for a DA's race. This is maybe his 23rd, probably his 30th try and his 25th successful one. He owns DAs all over the country. And every place he has DAs, crime is not just up. The cities are in crisis. About 15 cities set a record for homicide this year. Probably 11 of them have Soros DAs. I mean, he's got the DA in Los Angeles, Gascon, who is under a petition for recall. He's got the DA in San Francisco, Boudin, who's the son of a domestic terrorist who was a translator for the communist dictator of Venezuela. You get that, huh? Kind of like de Blasio with Cuba. And he is actually under recall. The citizens of San Francisco have signed recall. He also has Kim Fock of Smollett fame of letting every rioter go free in a fight with a Democratic mayor right now. He's got the mayor of Philadelphia, who's a complete menace. Philadelphia has more murders than New York or Los Angeles, much smaller. And New York and Los Angeles had bad years. And this guy, the day came in there, property crime went up 20%. I mean, the citizens of these cities are being killed because of these traitor district attorneys who are really plants to let criminals go free and to create chaos. So we can get to the Biden Democrat Silicon Valley network dream of let's eliminate American nationalism. Let's be one big world with some autocrat telling us all what to do who's smarter than us. That's where we're going with George Soros. I have with me probably the person who knows more about this on all fronts than anyone, and also who's really up on the work of the illicit January 6th committee that's trying to reignite the fantasy they created a year ago, which has been largely debunked. And so we'll talk to Bernie Kerik about both. You know, Bernie Kerik was most famous for being police commissioner in New York City and leading the city through September 11, but also for reducing crime, actually more than any of my other police commissioners, although they all were terrific. And it's remarkable because crime was already down, and it's harder to reduce it when it's down than when it's up, but that's another story. He also did miracles in the correction department, You won't believe it? Go watch 60 Minutes. He reduced violence by 90%. You don't reduce violence by 90%. And since then, he's been a major advocate for law enforcement, for training law enforcement officers, had great successes overseas, and is now very, very involved in trying to keep American cities straight, and also to make sure that we stop the express train to communism, Marxism, nihilism, chaos, criminals controlling our cities. How much equity do you have in your home? 50,000, 100,000, more? Cybercrime experts are alerting homeowners that the more equity you have, the greater the chance foreign and domestic criminals will come after you. Title theft is one of the fastest growing crimes. Home Title Lock, America's leader in home title protection, is alerting homeowners they could already be a victim and not know it. Here's how it goes down. First, cyber thieves search hundreds of public databases for high equity homes. Next, they pull your home's title that's online. They forge your signature stating you sold your home, and they take out loans using your equity. You're not covered by insurance, your bank, or common identity theft programs. Protect your most valuable asset. Register your address now to see if you're already a victim and receive a complete title history of your home. A $100 value free. Go to HomeTitleLock.com. That's HomeTitleLock.com. So Bernie Kerik, who is also, I must disclose, one of my best friends and a man that I admire and a man that helped me to save lives and it helped to save my life.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
You can't have much more of a bond than that, right? So Bernie, let's start off with our city. I'm going back there tomorrow or the next day. What am I going back to? You saw everything. You saw everything I saw from this guy, Alvin Bragg. I mean, we have to go through. I mean, simply, he's going to take crimes that we put people in jail for, that prevents them from raping people, mugging people, and he's going to let them out on the street, which is what de Blasio and Cuomo were doing. And it's led to a record increase in murder last year in New York. We matched that increase this year. We're for 2 years in a row now, almost at 500 murders. We haven't been there in a decade. You know how hard it is to get it down once you let it go up. And then every other thing, almost every other crime, you're out on the street. I mean, if you sell drugs, you'll be back in 4 hours. We lived through that, right? Changed it. So how does a guy like Adams, let's assume for a moment Adams is completely legit in the sense that he wants to bring crime down. And he's making so much of it, I can't imagine he isn't, because he'd be a fool if he didn't.
Right.
But what does he do? He arrests him. This guy lets him out. What happens when that? I mean, what's going on? We got a confrontation going on here.
No, there's a couple issues that I think that the papers haven't focused on yet in the media. The first and foremost is through Alvin Bragg's policies, and these policies are the same policies that we've seen in Philadelphia, San Francisco, Los Angeles, St. Louis, Cook County, Chicago. They're all the same policies. And in New York City, here's what bothers me most. He's going to endanger the lives of the men and women in the New York City Police Department, as well as the people in the communities in Manhattan. Because when you embolden the bad guys, when the bad guys know they're not going to be held accountable, when the bad guys know that resisting arrest, for example, Alvin Bragg has said he's not going to charge people with resisting arrest. He doesn't think there should be a criminal charge. Really? Resisting arrest is probably one of the worst crimes going because, one, you're being arrested for something you've already done, and then you're resisting the cops, which results in, physical threat, physical injury, and sometimes death as a result of a resisting arrest charge. You're not gonna charge somebody with resisting arrest. That's insane.
So could it be? I mean, I'm going to be real devil's advocate here and a conspirator. It seems to me you would encourage resisting arrest if you want to get a lot of incidents that you can falsify and publicize, which you can make appear to be questionable, but the cop is trying to save his life.
That's exactly what I'm talking about, where they're endangering the lives of the cops. When somebody thinks they can get away with resisting is an escalation of force. The escalation of force results in the cop either physically restraining or having to revert to deadly physical force. You're going to have more of those incidents. You're going to have more of those. So
It would seem to me this is exactly what the activists, exactly what the revolutionaries, the communists,
and that's what they want.
I had to go. We had to go disprove that. I remember the one murder where there was a tape of the police officer trying to save his life. It never came out for 4 days. We had a big riot in Washington Heights. Finally, the tape came out. The whole thing went away because the cop was trying to kill the cop.
Right.
Kiko Garcia.
It
was before I was mayor. You were working
Right.
with me then. We were running for mayor.
Right.
And Dinkins let a four-day riot go on for no reason.
1992 or something.
Yeah.
Yep. So here's the big issue. How does the mayor deal with it? Right.
It could be tough. I mean, he's a Democrat. It's a little. I mean, I know how I would deal with it. I was a Republican. I didn't give a damn about them.
Okay.
I cut his
but
funding.
listen, here's what you did. Because we had some of the same issues, right? We had some of the same issues, and our prosecutors, they weren't radical Marxists. They weren't leftists.
But they were
Democrats.
For their day, you would consider them, well, not Morgenthau and the judge, but the other three, you'd consider them left of center.
Right.
But reasonable men.
Yeah, reasonable in the fact that you went to them.
And good lawyers.
And basically you said, look, I control some of your money. I control your money. So you have to do your job, or I'm not going to put money into your budget.
You take me to court.
And you know what? If you don't like it, go to the state. Get the money from the state.
See if Cuomo was the governor then. See if Mario will give it to you. He's got less money than I have right now.
No, exactly. So
and I got to tell you about Mario. Mario backed me on that. I won't tell you who I did it with, but I said I'm going to go to the governor and ask him to remove you.
Yeah.
If you and they did nothing like this. You could remove this guy for this. He basically has announced he's not going to do the job the law requires him to do.
In violation of the constitutional authority he has, he swears to the Constitution.
Uphold the laws. He's
not.
not. He's undercutting the laws.
He's not even.
I mean,
he's basically publicly saying
Hochul
he's not going to enforce the laws he's sworn to uphold.
Hochul wouldn't have the guts to do it, but you'd put her in a hell of a spot because she's running for election. She was selected by Cuomo, and then you could hold every crime in New York City responsible to her.
Well, let me ask you this: what about a recall for somebody like this?
Well, I have to honestly tell you, I don't know if you can do a recall in New York. We don't have many recall opportunities. You can't recall a mayor. You can't recall a governor.
They're doing it in San Francisco.
Yeah, but they have a
They're
recall.
doing it in L.A.
I'm not sure we have a recall law. I'm pretty sure we don't. Like for example, you can't recall the mayor. But the governor can remove the mayor, as he can a DA. The governor can say you're out of office and you have a certain number of days, and you're out of office immediately. A substitute comes in. And then you have a certain number of days for a hearing. And so the last time it was done, I think was Jimmy Walker. Roosevelt removed him, and Walker didn't go to the hearing, and then he resigned. And O'Dwyer made a deal to leave so he wouldn't get charged with bribery with Truman. And we've gotten rid of DAs around the state that way. But the governor could come in right now and remove him temporarily, saying that what he's saying suggests there's so many things that he's not going to do, that he's broadly going to not enforce the law. And there would be a substitute put in there, and then they'd have a hearing.
Think of some of the major crimes, armed robbery. You're going to downplay.
Yeah, this isn't prosecutorial discretion. It isn't like one case out of 1,000 where the guy's mother was dying and everybody home was starving, so he went to the store and he robbed something. This is armed robbery, where nobody is shot, is going to be put down to a misdemeanor. If you go into a place and rob it, you're going to be liable for about 300 a year, less than a year in jail.
It's crazy.
And that's without plea bargaining it down even further. He's given them absolute discretion to plea bargain anything, which I don't even think murder is taken out of that. And if I read it carefully, there are some forms of murder where you'll have no bail, like negligent homicide or things like that.
I don't know. I think the people of Manhattan, they've got to look at this very seriously, because if they think they've had problems for the last 2 or 3 years, this guy is going to increase crime probably more than anything over the last 3 decades.
Yeah, and explain it. I mean, a lot of the crime that they have now is a result of the Cuomo no bail policy, the Hochul no bail policy, and the de Blasio trying to close Rikers Island and finding every excuse to let people. So the criminals that used to be in jail that we put there and Bloomberg put there, who brought New York City down to the safest large city in America, those same type of criminals are now roaming the streets. Shooting people, killing people.
When you think of this, the bail reform laws that Cuomo put in place are responsible for 83% of the gun charges not being held upon arrest. 83% of the people charged with gun charges, whether it's involved in a robbery or possession, whatever the case may be, 83% are not being held.
83%?
That's absurd. And that came from Commissioner Shea himself.
So so now you're Adams, right? Or the police commissioner. I'm Adams, and I say to you, Bernie, you're the commissioner. We want to get rid of guns. I was a former cop. We know how to get rid of guns. Let's go get rid of guns. So you do it. You plain clothes. You do a modified, let's call it, a Terry stop,
right.
The legal stop, question and frisk. He's going to do that. You know he's going to do that,
of course,
quietly. Now he brings a lot of gun cases in. Good start.
This guy's going to downplay him, though.
Then
he's going to downplay him or dismiss him.
Then they're back out on the street.
They're back out on the street.
After a while, the street gets the message. It's a 1 hour delay, a 2 hour delay.
It's emboldened.
We can, and then they tell the cops. They make fun of the cops when the cops arrest them.
Right.
And then the community thinks the cops are crooked. I remember that with drugs when I did the federal day. Everybody thought the cops were crooked because the drug dealers were back in 8 hours. It wasn't the cops, it was the judges.
Right.
And then they lose confidence and they don't give in. If you're going to give information about guns to Bernie, the detective or the cop, and the guy gets arrested, you're happy. The guy's back in the day. Who was he looking for?
That's right.
Looking for me.
That's right. You know what though? That's one of the things. I think if the mayor was wanted to be as active or as aggressive as we were, Federal Day is one of the things.
Go to the feds, but he's got a U.S. attorney. We don't know. He comes from Biden, and he's maybe woke.
But you know what? The mayor's still responsible for the city. The mayor's got to go to him and say, listen, I need this. I need help.
U.S. attorney's not me or even any facsimile thereof. He's a Biden. His biggest, his biggest priority are white supremacists. All the white supremacists in New York. You know what we would do, right?
Right.
Take them on. Go to the governor. I'd be in Albany right now asking for a petition to have him removed. Right. And I'm telling you, you and I are good enough politically to understand that's not just a substantive move. We put her in a political box that's deadly, right. Because she doesn't remove him, and 6 months from now we got more record homicides. She's toast.
Right. Exactly.
And I don't even understand why he's doing it right now. This is a bad time. The Democrats elected Adams because he's tough on crime. People in the city, including the Democrats, are now at the point where they're really tired of crime.
I thought about this yesterday. This is right after Eric Adams announces, I'm reinstituting plainclothes. I'm looking at stop and frisk, stop, question, and frisk. I want to take the gangs off the streets. I want to address the violence in the jails. All these things. And in the following day, this guy goes public.
Smack.
And basically says,
so you think this is...
by the way, I'm not going to do A, B, C, D. What does that mean?
It's a fascinating... I think you're absolutely right. This comes from the Bidenistas and Soros.
Right.
Because this guy is actually challenging the Bidenistas. Right. I mean, all the other mayors and all the other DAs are... Well, the mayors are starting to change a little now. The mayor in...
Well, the mayors don't have no choice.
Kim Fox, the mayor there, Mayor Lightfoot, is up in arms, and I mean she's been pretty bad up until now.
But they have no choice.
Even the one in San Francisco.
If they're going to be one-term
London
mayors.
Breed.
They're going to be one-term mayors if they don't change.
Well, some of them are ideologues, but a couple of them you can see are, and Adams also. I think you're right. Adams also threatens to ignite some more. Some of these other Democratic mayors are going to look at Adams if he has success, and say, "I can do that too."
You know what, Mayor? I actually sent him a note the other day. I sent him a text, and I've known him.
I remember you had good relations.
He was
Bernie. He supported me.
He was a lieutenant
He endorsed me.
and then a captain under us.
And I have a quote from him that I love to stick to him, that I did a much better job than Dinkins.
So here's the deal. I sent him a note and I said, you can make international history
You
by
can.
flipping this around, right? And here's the reality. He worked for us. He worked for me when we had the most substantial reduction in violent crime. in
Whatever
New
he
York
says,
history.
he knows it. He acknowledged it back then. He knows what works. He knows what doesn't work.
Works. He knows
He
what
knows
doesn't
this is a
work.
disaster. Everything he knows everything you and I react to when we read this guy.
Right.
He sees the whole thing,
Right.
and he also sees a problem for his cops in morale and safety.
It's only a matter of, will he stand up to this and the radical left, or will he back down? I don't know. Based on what he's saying, I'm pretty optimistic.
I am too. I don't think he
based
has a
on what he's
choice.
saying, he doesn't have a choice. If
He had to know when he went out here on that, particularly the last couple of days where he's talking about plain clothes. He has to know he's irritating these people. And he has to know he's taking them on. And he has to know they're going to fight back. They take this seriously.
Yeah.
I believe, now, based on your analysis, I believe this is coming from the White House or whoever with Soros. And they figure, okay, let's get this one quick. Let's snuff this Adams guy out quick.
Yeah.
And we got our
could be.
guy. We spent $1 million. We got our agent there. I mean, I realized during the riots in 2020, one of the reasons why Soros put his DAs there, to let the rioters go free. Remember, Soros is the top BLM funder,
Right.
the top Antifa funder, and the top Democrat funder, and the top prosecutor funder. And it's not a coincidence that the rioters all go free in St. Louis, and Gardner is there. Who, when we come back, we're going to talk
But
about.
think about the 275 riots throughout that point in time.
They were placed
How
there.
many of those people were let go?
There's no doubt
without charges.
Black Lives Matter and Antifa had the intelligence because Soros put them there and funds all three of them. You're okay in Chicago. You're okay in Philadelphia.
That's right.
You're okay in St. Louis. I mean, Kim Gardner will give you an award. So
That's
we'll
right.
be back in a few minutes and we'll talk a little about Kim Gardner. If she wasn't the first, she was the first really, really bad one, and she's in the most trouble. Let's talk about that. Not long ago, Mike Lindell, the inventor of MyPillow, and his team fit me for my very own MyPillow. They also introduced me to their wide assortment of other incredible products, like their mattress topper, their sheets, towels, slippers, and more. Sleep is incredibly important to me, and I can assume for all of you. It's time you give MyPillow a try and see for yourself. Listeners have helped build MyPillow into the incredible company it is today, and Mike Lindell wants to give back to all of you. You can get great discounts on MyPillow products by going to MyPillow.com right now and seeing each of the specially priced items, including those in the radio listener special square. You're going to see rotational offers up to 66% off on products like their pillows, mattress topper, Giza sheets, but also new products like their slippers, weighted blankets, robes, and waffle blankets. All MyPillow products come with a 60-day money-back guarantee. Enter promo code RUDY for these great specials. That's MyPillow.com and use the promo code RUDY. Welcome back to Rudy's Common Sense, and welcome back to the interview with Bernie Kerik, which we were focusing on the DAs, the agent DAs of Soros, and the one in New York who has just made a really very, very distressing announcement that he's going to cut out about half the enforcement measures in New York and put even more criminals on the street than de Blasio and Cuomo have done. And New York City has already set a record last year for increases in homicide in 1 year, matched that record this year, has hit 500 homicides for the first time in 10 years. And we have a population that elected, a Democrat population that elected a pro-law and order mayor. And we've got a massive attack now on the criminal justice system. So let's finish this up, Bernie, about Adams. We see the one statement he made was sort of very political. I have great respect for Bragg. He has a great vision. But, I mean, he's got to fight this.
Well, he's got to fight it. I think if I was the mayor, what I'd be doing is I'd immediately put a call into the governor and tell the governor, look, you know, I'm not sure what he's up to. I don't know what he has planned. I don't know why he came out basically to denounce everything I've said, right? And he would ask the governor to put him on notice. You can't let New York City implode, and that's what's going to happen. Not to mention, and this is my big stressor, you're endangering the lives of the men and women of the New York City Police Department just by the statements he's made. So if I was the mayor, I'd be talking to the governor already.
Yeah. Even if he wants to have a somewhat peaceful public posture.
Right.
I'd do it differently, of course. I'd have a press conference immediately. I've already called the governor. I asked for his removal.
Yeah.
And I'd say, and then if the governor didn't do it, I'd say, Governor, I got a big mouth. These things turn around. You're out.
Well, here's the governor's problem. If the governor's, especially if he makes note, he notifies the governor and tells her, puts her on notice that this is the wrong thing for New York City. And then, this guy lets somebody out on some nonsense charge.
How often did it happen to de Blasio and Cuomo? It's already happened to her.
And then they go back out and kill somebody.
It's happened to her already.
It's going to be on the governor. So
but they don't have a big mouth who's making a big deal out of it because everybody's woke and everybody's afraid and
everybody's from the same
except
party.
Except for the New York Post, nobody even covers it. But
right.
If they had a mayor who had a pair of if this guy does this, and the governor doesn't stop him, and the governor is given the tools to stop him, and we get a bad problem anytime between now and the election, the governor's finished.
The governor's finished.
Because upstate New York is experiencing tremendous crime this time. It's not like when it used to be a New York City phenomenon.
Right.
Their crime increases are maybe even stronger.
Yeah.
So she's under pressure all over. And finally, there's no longer any politics about this. Everybody's afraid of crime, rightfully.
Right.
So now let's talk about, so we get an idea of the background of this, because we know this situation both very, very well. One of Soros's first appointments was Kim Gardner in St. Louis. Unfortunately, it's the same Kim Gardner that let all the rioters go free in St. Louis. It's the same Kim Gardner who prosecuted the McCluskeys for defending themselves. But before that, she framed the sitting Republican governor, who was a Trump Republican. And I know when you say frame up, that nobody believes you. It happens all the time, unfortunately. This one is now proven.
Yeah, this has been substantiated. This was an investigation into Governor Eric Greitens. And as a result of what came out of the investigation, so far, her chief investigator,
FBI agent,
former FBI agent, has been arrested and charged with 7 felonies relating to tampering with evidence, witness intimidation, and all this other stuff.
This was all to get witnesses to give incriminating testimony about Greitens that wasn't true.
Right. But here's worse. The 7 charges against the investigator is one thing. She has been found to be guilty of 70 different incidents of false statements and things relating to the Greitens case by the Missouri Ethics Board.
Basically the Bar Association.
The Bar Association.
To disbar her.
So she's under investigation for that. It looks like her law license, according to all the experts, they think her law license is going to be revoked or suspended at a minimum. And this is a prosecutor that was put in place by Soros.
And she's the follow-up to the DA. In other words, to the FBI agent. If the FBI agent's convicted, they're really going for her. That's why they're going after the FBI agent. They're going to flip him,
and they're going to flip him.
That's the whole idea. I mean, from all that we can tell, this was completely her plan. He became Eric is a former SEAL, very brave guy. He had a domestic situation, that was not career threatening. It just happened, the kind of thing that happens. And then they used that as a way of framing him for crimes he had nothing to do with. He resigned to get his family out of the pressure, but then he kept after it and kept investigating it.
Right.
And then it turned around, and now he's running again. And we should say we both support him also.
But Mr. Mayor, here's the issue with me. Whether it's Gardner
Oh,
or
Kim
whether
Fox,
it's Fox
Smollett,
or all of these,
Boudin, the son of the terrorist.
all of these people, all of these Democrat-funded, whether it's Soros or not, we've become a country right now where prosecutors are just transparently weaponizing the criminal justice system. Look at what Letitia James is doing to the Trump family in New York City, right? When she ran for office, the New York State Attorney General, Letitia James, said her primary focus, her primary target as Attorney General is going to be Donald Trump. Really? That's
somebody like that. I mean, in a country of fairness, morality, decency, somebody like that would be just discarded completely as a candidate. A person who's a headhunter.
Yeah, but these people wind up in office.
Yeah, it's because
and they use that office. They weaponize the office. You know, Alan Dershowitz talks about this a lot.
Yes.
Weaponizing politics in conjunction with the criminal justice system, targeting political players, opposition, opponents, and it's got to stop. It's got to stop.
That's a fascist state.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a fascist state. I mean, you can't mince words about it. It is, and now it's so extensive. It's not every place, but it's so extensive. I mean, we just show just a sample list. I think we may have shown this before, but just in case you didn't see it, here's a sample list of some of his all-stars.
Right.
One is being recalled. The other's on the process of being recalled. Another one is in a situation where the mayor of Chicago now wants to get rid of her. That's the Smollett. Want to fix the Smollett case. And the final one, even the Democrat Party, the crooked Democratic Party in Philadelphia wouldn't endorse him, but he got elected because Soros gave him $2-3 million. That's the guy in Philadelphia and every one of these cities is at the top of the list for crime.
Right.
And some of them have set records for murder.
That's right.
This is what Soros is doing to us.
And you're going to see that continue.
And then he gives us the new all-star, our new all-star to put on the list. Let's see if we have him. So when criminals are going free and people are getting killed, you know who's responsible for it. This is the famous Alvin Bragg, who got at least $1 million from George Soros in order to destroy the criminal justice system in America. And Alvin just did a press conference in which he basically declared war against the city of New York. Well, I want to thank you for joining us. I think the observation to take away with you is what Bernie said before. This is not helter-skelter. This is not coincidence. It just happened in all these places. This is an orchestrated, I could call it a revolution. This is an attempt to completely change our system of government, our system of law and justice, our way of life. And they're making progress.
That's right.
And 2022 is the year that we hold the ground and we stop it. And we're going to do it when you sign up for the Freedom Network. And next week, we'll have all the details for you on how to do that, because we want to be in the right place at the right time. They're not going to cheat us out of this election. Because if they cheat us out of this election, they cheat us out of America. And nobody is going to get away with doing that. And I am talking about, for all of you liars, I'm talking about peaceful, at the ballot box, exercise of our civil rights that are given to us by God, not Joseph Biden or George Soros. Thank you. God bless you. We'll be back very shortly with another podcast. And stay with us. We got a big, big mission this year. God bless you.